Hello there. Welcome to JonnyBuildz. I am your host, Johnny, and with us again are the Pittsburgh Pals. We've got Marcella and Krista, and woohoo, good news, Krista actually has use of her arm back.
She's two hands, folks.
Yep. So are you actually back to building like with two hands, or are you still kind of mostly one-handed?
I'm still one-handed.
Yeah.
I can use my other hand to slightly hold something in place, but not like I can't two-handed build right now.
And the reason I asked that is because both Marcella and Krista are actually heading in 2 weeks, well, probably a little bit less than 2 weeks, to Brick Rodeo. I know they're excited, but they're also busy working on their builds. In fact, Marcella is working on some trees right now. You got a tree example?
I am. I do.
Oh, that's looking really good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Just trying out some leaf techniques right now to see if I like the way it's going to look.
So what is the overall build that you're working on?
It is a scene from Harry Potter. It is the Forbidden Forest when Gwarp is holding Umbridge upside down. So I've got 3 base plate wide landscape, and I'm going to do big trees of varying sizes, and then have Gwarp in the middle holding her up and the centaurs attacking.
Oh, nice. Very, very cool. And what are you working on, Krista, for your... I guess this would be your debut there at Brick Rodeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is my first rodeo. I'm excited for that. I essentially took my Pac-Man lenticular and amplified it to the nth degree. I don't think there's any much more I can do after this, except Miss Pac-Man. But the cool thing is it's all interchangeable, so it'll be good.
Yeah, that makes it kind of interesting because then, yeah, you can move things around a bit and stuff, and like, yeah, make it kind of different anytime that you want to show it.
Yep.
So before we get into the actual review of the episode from 2 nights ago, there's a bit of news that came out. I would guess, was it Monday night or last night? I can't remember. It was very, very recent, and there have been quite a few reactions about this, and that's the fact that this is the last season for Will Arnett to be hosting LEGO Masters. And LEGO Masters, it looks like, has been renewed for a 6th season, and the new host is going to be Nick Cannon. Marcella, what are your thoughts?
It's an interesting choice. I have mixed feelings about it. I think Will is a wonderful host, and he's got a connection to Lego with being the voice of Lego Batman.
Absolutely.
I don't know what Nick's connection to Lego is. He's a very good host. We've seen him on America's Got Talent. We've seen him on The Masked Singer. He's got the hosting chops to handle a show like Lego Masters. But does he have the Lego credentials? That's what I want to know. I guess we'll see when he hosts the live auditions at Legoland.
Oh, that is true, yeah. What do you think, Krista?
So it's interesting the way it was phrased is that Will was unavailable for this season due to a scheduling conflict. So I don't know if Nick Cannon is the new permanent host or just happens to be the season 6 host. So I think that's an interesting caveat, that it could be back, but I agree completely with Marcella. Like, there's no connection to the Lego community. Like,
right.
Other than him showing his little briquettes in his trailer, like there was no like, hey, as a kid I like to build this, or I'll take that. The funnier thing to me is the Reddit and the comments, because they have been very, very interesting.
They have.
Yeah, they've been very vocal.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. He was a host on America's Got Talent for a long time, and also Masked Singer. And his personality, I think, kind of fits those types of shows. But I think Will has definitely he's like created the persona of the host. You know, I mean, like he started with it, and I think it goes along with how they do. Like even in this season, like they're talking about like it's almost like the cheesiness of the stuff that he says goes along with like, oh no, we're adding a twist to make it, you know, fun and exciting again, and that sort of thing. Like everything is kind of geared around that way, the way he hosts and stuff. And yeah, I don't see, and yeah, his connection with as Lego Batman definitely, and that's a big thing. Like he's done, you know, a couple movies, you know, as that. It's definitely something that you know he relates with. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see Nick Cannon doing the same thing. You know, I don't see him filling the role the same way. And I think, I mean, maybe they're looking for someone that can give, you know, some pep or life or something. I don't know what they're looking for, but you know, why they made that decision, that's, you know, that's up to them.
The thing that's interesting for me is, in all of his hosting abilities, he's hosted with celebrities or famous people. Right. Whereas people on this show are everyday folk, so like you almost need like a Pat Sajak, you know, like a game show host that can do that banter with everyday people and not people who are used to being scripted. So if he can bridge that gap and make connections with the contestants, I think there's a chance he might do okay. However, I'm not highly optimistic just based off of, you know, a lot of the feedback out there. To me, he's just like interchangeable in terms of a host. Like he doesn't add any flavor or add anything unique. He does a good job just kind of getting you from A to B in transition.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, some of those comments, even some of the stuff I've seen on Instagram, like there was, I forget, it was Iceberg Bricks and someone like he was just like, no, no, no. It was great.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Ben says they should get Elizabeth Banks. That'd be an interesting one.
Oh yeah, she's fun on Pressure Luck. I like her as a game show host.
Yeah.
I think I would have preferred someone like Boone from season 1, like someone that had a connection to the Lego community and to the show itself. Right. And he works in Billund now. He's a designer, and he's also just a fantastic personality. Or even someone like Corey. Corey's a fantastic personality and would make, you know, and that would be a way to keep it, you know, all in the family, kind of pass along the torch, and you know. That's actually kind of interesting, because something to aspire to.
Yeah, because if you think about what happened with, you know, whenever with Jeopardy, like when Alex passed, like, you know, they brought in a number of the people that did well on the show, and you know, could relate, and then eventually, well, I think it's Jennings has been like the host for like the longest time, but they did have a number of guest hosts for a while. So yeah, I kind of agree with that, if keeping it like some, and again, Nick may do Lego stuff, but I don't know, aside from, you know, like you said, you know, I've never seen any of it, like no indication whatsoever. Now, will that change as like they're like, you know, trying to be like, hey, you know, we're pushing this, so we got to, like, you know, ramp it up a little bit and show that, like, hey, he does Lego, blah blah blah. I mean, that's always, you know, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be interesting though too if he was just a fill-in, but again, also that remains to be seen too. So.
Yeah, it's a precarious spot, because if season 6 doesn't do well, will there be a 7? So he's got big shoes to fill there, in terms of filling Will's shoes and in terms of keeping the series going.
Right.
I've looked. No, go ahead.
Wouldn't want to be me, is what I was going to say. Wouldn't want to be me.
Yes, quick Dick, build a lot of Lego. I have seen on the wiki for this season so far that they've run, every episode has been slowly gone up, right around 1 million views, or, you know, as far as like, you know, the initial viewing numbers and stuff. I don't know if that's average for them or, you know, whatever, but yeah, I don't know what is, like, you know, breaking point as far as, you know, like, oh, we're too low, we can't keep doing this, you know, it's not worth it, or, you know, how that works, but
yeah. That's good news. It's good to hear.
Yep. All right, so let's talk episode 5. And it definitely was an interesting episode. We knew initially, we knew that it was going to be more power functions. It was going to be very specific types of movement. And we also knew that something brand new for this season and for any season, teams were going head-to-head against each other specifically, and we were going to have 4 on the bottom and 4 on the top. It was kind of different.
Yeah, I like that, though. I like that as an intriguing setup. It was interesting. I only had one major gripe. There is a disconnect for me between what Amy and Jamie are wearing and what the overall, like, brief is. Like, I wish all of the builds had been more steampunk. I thought that was kind of what it was supposed to be. And I think there's a misconnect in what they actually built as opposed to what was actually done.
Yeah, I agree on that. Like the theming of the episode, like every episode we've done has been, on a particular theme. And to have this whole steampunk theme and then suddenly everybody's building whatever, like it seems weird.
Thank you. I'll come do it after. It is really saggy. I'll come do it after. Okay. I'll come do it after this call. Thank you. She's up here. She's right here. Thank you.
Marcella's getting her DoorDash or something.
Joys of live TV, folks.
Yeah, live TV is always interesting. I
came to my door.
I agree.
Sorry about that.
It was really weird that they came out and they looked great in their steampunk outfits, and they had the machine there as doing, hey, this is very steampunkish, whatever, and then like it was just like build whatever you want with these devices. It was kind of odd.
It was Luke and Amber, the only two that really. Oh, and I guess Ben and Michaels was steampunkish.
It was.
Ben and Michaels was pretty impressive, actually.
It was very impressive as far as like a build, an overall build goes. Though I do think, well, let's get into the teams as how they competed against each other. So we had Corey and Rebecca versus Ben and Michael. And it was interesting too that they picked, we're going to go against Ben and Michael, which was, kind of a bold move, which I thought was pretty good. And their builds completely different, and they were doing the twist motion. I agree but disagree with the judges, in like their focus has always been, they're always like tell a great story and stuff, and both told a great story. Ben and Michaels looked so good though. I mean, just
it looks
like
so
on another
good.
level.
Yeah. But I do agree with what Amy and Jamie said about it being a little too busy.
Yes.
And we kind of talked about that last week with they threw everything in those power functions at their Wicked build.
Yes.
And it didn't leave them room to go up. And they did the same thing again this week. So essentially from the start, episode 1, they've been doing so much like to go above and beyond that they don't have like room to go up. They have to maintain. And to me, less was more. And it was an amazing build, don't get me wrong. Absolutely amazing. But I do agree that it was too busy. Like the things spinning in the front, like detracted from everything else that was happening in the ship. So it was like, where did you want to put your focal point?
Yeah, those smokestacks. I mean, like when I saw that, they mentioned in their planning, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna make the smokestack spin do," and I'm like, "No, I don't like that idea."
Yeah, it was kind of like the kindergarten kid that wants to wear 12 outfits at once. Like, take one thing off, just stop, do one less.
Right.
But then on the same token, I feel like Corey and Rebecca, while I love that skirt technique, totally going to use that down the line. That was really cool.
The stringy, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think they took the word twist too literally almost.
Mhm.
And I would have preferred, I really like that build and I like what they did, but I just think they took the word a little too literally.
And kind of to that point, have you noticed that all of their builds have been music, dance, like
Yeah.
celebration related? I would love to see them. I mean, aside from the leaf cutter, because how do you make it so? But all of the times where they've had to really kind of break out, they've all been in the same theme. So I would love to next week see them kind of get out of that mold a little bit. I know that's their wheelhouse. They're DJs. They spend a lot of time at weddings. Like every challenge so far has had like a tie into a wedding. But I'd love to see them get out of that.
It was very creative how they did how their motion. I mean, like it worked perfectly, obviously for what their build was. But yeah, I agree with that. And it's interesting too that you mentioned that because the judges on previous episodes have said, "Oh, we know you're used to doing this kind of thing. We would like to see you change." And obviously we haven't seen everything, but it does seem like they've kind of skipped on. And they're just like, "Yeah, go ahead, do your thing," And Ben also brings up a good point. He says if you take the movement away, then Ben and Michael's build was still fantastic, but the DJ's build was not. I mean, and I even noticed when they were putting the actual jukebox up, like it was kind of like it wasn't uniform. Like there were definitely some things that were off and that sort of thing. And I agree there, but they definitely made it so that like the twist motion, and they actually did a little bit of complication with that, with having the dress spinning, but also the arms twisting at the same. That was actually really, really well done. So
and complicated too, because it's going in two different directions. So it's I give them their props for that, and I see that. But again, if I'm going overall, and I just was going on visual, I love just the border that Ben and Michael put on the clouds and the way it was shaped and just the whole overall look of that build. I was blown away by it, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I would have given that for that matchup. I would have given it to Ben and Michael.
Yeah. No, it would have been another win for them, I tell you.
Well deserved on this one.
Oh, I agree.
Well
I
deserved.
Agree. So our next pair up was Anthony and Joe, and excuse me, and Ian and Sage. So Anthony and Joe, they did a crazy spinning because it was spin, right?
Dr. Spin.
Yeah, it was spin.
Yeah,
Dr. Spin.
Yeah. And
that thing was crazy.
It was like everything except the doctor was moving, and which was nuts.
So much going on.
Yeah.
Although I did agree with the judges that the jacket could have been a different color to set it off from the background.
Yep.
That would have made it pop more.
Yep, I agree. But
and
overall,
for Ian and Sage, I love that cat. That cat was so cute, but I think they made one tiny little mistake, and that was making the back wheel spin instead of the front wheel, because it was hidden in the back. You couldn't really see it back there. And if it had spun in the front, that would have caught the eye more.
Oh, for sure.
I think it may have given them the win, because it was a really well designed build.
It was, yeah. Like Joe and Anthony's, they definitely went towards hey, we got to have lots of motion, because that's what the focus of the challenge is. And I think, I kind of, because their build was beautiful. Ian and Sage's build was beautiful, but even if the wheels had been bigger, so you could actually see them, they were talking about having fire or some, with it for the exhaust. It's well, if you had that, it was sparking on the road or something, that would be, something like that in order to just draw attention to it.
I would have even taken it a step further and having all the wheels spin and
Yeah.
maybe even the bunny running in circles, you know,
Oh.
just something to
Yeah.
like add a little extra to it
Mm-hmm.
because in terms of the motion, it just seemed too simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. It was way too simple. They definitely, and that's, they even mentioned that they're like, well, our strong suit is story, and they did. They had they had a great story for it. Their build looked good, but yeah, they missed the focus of the challenge for this particular one. So
Yeah, Ben was saying that if the bike did donuts, that would be funny.
see, that would actually be really good too. Then you have the buddy in the middle, and they're just
Yeah.
doing a donut, or
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would be cool too. Yeah, absolutely. So then we
How
got
much time did they have on this one?
7 hours, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. No extra time, no extra twist. Even though they tried to do one, but I wonder if there was going to be. I'm just thinking back. I wonder if there was going to be another twist, but then they're like, "Nah, this is already difficult enough. We're just gonna play around with it, get them all hyped up, and then like, nope, we're not gonna throw this in there. It's too difficult."
I really wish they would have incorporated more steampunk. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, what a missed opportunity. Like, I really would have given it to Ben and Michael for having a steampunk build.
Well, see, and like even though Jamie and Amy came out with the steampunk outfits, and the computer was doing the whole steampunk thing, like they never really said that. Like they're just like, your builds have to incorporate the motion and tell a good story, but they never like there was no emphasis at all. And it's like, well, if you're coming out this way, you would think this is the theme, or
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then why are you dressed like this then?
Yeah.
Why are
What's
they making you wear a corset, Amy?
They had it in their closet. They just wanted to have a way to bring it out, I guess.
The real answer is because that's what wardrobe said you're wearing this week.
That's exactly right. Which means it'll be interesting to see what they're wearing this coming week, since it's going to be Batman. So.
Yes.
All right, how much would you die if Amy's in a Catwoman suit?
Oh, that would.
Cool. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben.
I'm so sad we missed that.
Yeah.
The Wicked episode and the Batman episode are the two that I'm like so jealous about. This one, I would have kind of been pooping my pants a little about. What are we gonna do? I don't know what we're gonna do. But
Yeah, you
it
might
would
have
have been a
taken me off
welcome
the floor.
challenge.
Yeah.
I know. But you were good. You're good with power functions now, and
Yeah, but that's now.
now.
That was yeah. You're talking a year and a half ago. It was like, wait.
Yeah.
Well. But hey, you never know. You could. I mean, like, just like you can. You just came up with the idea of like, hey, that bunny should have been spinning around. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, like.
Yeah.
Everybody comes up with their own idea, and like especially when you're thrown into the moment, it's like, wow, what do we do? And there you go, you come up with something. So, then we got Maya and Jamie with their pineapple, their big giant pineapple that didn't really look like a pineapple. It kind of looked like SpongeBob. Like it was very squared off, chasing the little pizzas, and versus John and Justin with their robot, I guess you could say robot obstacle course. That's kind of what I called it, because I remember what they were trying to say with the story, but like when it ended up like, being fleshed out, like it looked really good, but what they were going for of like having the robots, supposedly jumping from the platforms and, not being hit by the pistons that were moving, which looked really good. Like it didn't work. They didn't have it done that way. And it was just kind of like, oh, there's some things moving back there, and the robots are kind of down there.
It relied a lot on actual storytelling rather than visual storytelling.
Yes. Yeah.
My only complaint with it's a lot of gray.
So like a Star Wars set.
Yeah. I did like Maya and Jamie's. And if it was really a SpongeBob, he lives in a pineapple, so close enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
But like, I agree that the pizzas kind of got lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know what they were, but like the story of why this pineapple is chasing the pizza, like I would have liked to actually see some pineapple in the air, maybe.
Yeah.
Like something. Because that's what they. I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but like Nikki and Britton, their comment was, "How are you going to show rain? You know, to actually like show the movement of it." And in Maya and Jamie's, you could see some pizza or some pineapple on the ground,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
but I would have liked to seen like a motion, like even if you just suspended the piece on a translucent bar, just something in the air to show like that it's being thrown.
Like the
Yeah.
connection between between one character versus the other ones.
Yeah. Otherwise, it just kind of looked like Godzilla.
They're most.
Yeah, the characters were very cute though. The
They
little
were.
pizza guys were very cute. But I do agree they could have tapered the pineapple a little more at the bottom too to give it more of a. Because I know she's a very good sculptor. And again, 7 hours. So, but if he would have been more rounded, I think that would have helped sell it a little more as a pineapple. This one was tough for me. I didn't know who should have won. It was kind of even.
Yeah,
I think in the end, they
agree.
both had adorable characters.
Mhm.
Justin is so good with those sphere-shaped characters. Like,
Yeah.
he really knocks it out of the park. Maya's an amazing sculptor. Like, she creates characters really, really well. I do agree with the judges in this sense that Maya having more motion than Justin and John, that just set them apart just a little bit, and that little bit was just enough.
Yeah, yeah, and their motion was more. It was more obvious because like even the Pistons, like I remember like the camera panning over John and Justin's, and it's like, oh, the characters look cool, and it's like, oh wait, there is a piston back there, and I was like, that was really it really did go into the background, even though the front of the Pistons were yellow. It didn't set it apart enough to make it so like, oh, it's actually involved in the scene. It just kind of looked like it was like background. Whereas, the pizzas themselves were like they're moving, and they were moving, and like they even pointed that out. They were moving different ways to kind of give it a little bit more. Would have been interesting if they had done that with the pineapple too. Had it like coming after them or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been really cool too.
Yeah. That one was probably a hard decision though, because they were pretty close. Both, I mean, like
They were.
The stories were good, the character design was good, but yeah, I motion-wise, I think it was picked well enough that it was like just the motion is a little bit more obvious for the one.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, like it's easy for us to sit here and kind of make all these critiques.
Oh, for
because
sure.
we've been thinking about this since Monday,
Right.
But in
the
that
heat of 7 hours.
Yeah, like I think they all the builds did an amazing job for both incorporating motion and being done in 7 hours. So kudos to all the teams for what they put out. But yeah, like
Anthony
I'm sure if
come with a warning, like it literally is a warning.
This is not easy.
Yeah, and this might cause anyone who has it needs a seizure warning actually, because it's got like the spinning thing in the background, and it's a feat of spinning. But again, I think they also, while it is very cool, they also took the word spinning a little literal.
Yes. Yeah. So then our last groups were
Luke.
Yeah, Luke and I messed up the name. Anne. Okay, so it is Anne. All right. So Anne and Luke, and then we had Nikki and Britton. And Anne and Luke, I was really not impressed with their build. I mean, again, and you heard it even at the very beginning. He's like, "I want to go big," That was he loves to go big, which is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, it was another one of those that was kind of like, it was way too much for what they ended up doing as far as like the mode, because it's just like one, just a pendulum, and there's just kind of a weird looking, not a very nice looking dude kind of hanging there, and that was it. But like, yeah, I don't know, I just wasn't impressed with that.
Yeah, I think their story being kind of steampunk-ish sold it a little bit more, and the fact that it was impressive from across the room,
yes,
like that, like really, sold that. But I love Nikki and Britton's story and their personal connection to it, and the fact that they put those cats on the windshield wipers, like that was really, really cute. So
it also
I
gave
really liked it.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit vibe.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the fact
really
that the fact that like in the middle of the episode, out of nowhere, she's just like, what if it's raining? Like they're like trying to figure out how do we make it rain, and then they're like, what if it's actually raining cats and dogs? It's like, that is creative, just to come out of nowhere. I think where they lost it though was they didn't show it actually raining enough. You know what I mean? Like it all seemed like it was kind of faded in the background, unfortunately. But their motion worked great. It was simple, but it was effective, I think. I think they just missed some of the details, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, if you really stop to think about it, their motion was really an upside down pendulum.
Yes, right.
Like, so both teams had almost exactly, yes, it was the same motion, but like 1-to-1, they were both very simple motions.
Yep.
Where they could have maybe benefited a little bit more was repeating those simple motions somewhere else in that build, just to kind of give them that little edge, knowing that Luke and Ann are building a clock has a swinging pendulum, maybe the doors, something to actually give it just a little bit more in that story. But I thought the build honestly was super cute, and I really loved that build.
Yeah, I agree.
Me too. They should be super proud. They created a really adorable car. And unfortunately, like the judges said, it was a little too simple when you compared it to everybody else in the bottom.
Yeah.
And that just sucks. I know that feeling. I know we know what it feels like. It doesn't feel good.
You may have been there before.
Yeah. I could see it on Nikki's face when you can tell when someone just realizes it's not in the cards, and
and unfortunately,
it's not a good feeling.
Unfortunately, they were up. I mean, like you got to figure too. They're up against Ben and Michael's build. Like Ben and Michael weren't going to be going home. And same with Sage and Ian, because even if their motion wasn't as obvious, it was still such a good build. Overall for everything else that they weren't going to go home. And then same with John and Justin. I mean, like their build was just, it was unfortunately much better. Not unfortunately, but you know what I mean, for them, it was
And kind of to emphasize, like, we're all good builders, but the challenge and the twist sometimes just get to you.
And somebody's got to go home.
And somebody's got to go home, unfortunately.
That is very true. So for the overall win, so we did talk a little bit about this already. So of the 4 people that were chosen, so we got Corey and Rebecca with the jukebox, we got Anthony and Joe with their spinny doctor office, hypnotized thing. We've got Maya and Jamie with their pineapple, and we've got Ann and Luke with the big tall clock. Do you think the jukebox should have won of those 4? Excuse me. Or do you think one of the other 3 was a little bit further along?
I would have given it to Ben and Michael.
Well, right, but they're not in the top 4.
I know, but from those top 4, no, I would not have given it to Corey and Rebecca. I probably would have given it to Anthony and Joe.
Yeah, I think that Corey and Rebecca did something very technically, like they had a lot of complexity
Yeah.
to what they were doing. But also, so did Anthony and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those things of, you look at the other two teams and, Luke's just swung. Who was the other team? Oh, Justin and John.
Justin and John.
No,
Maya
and Jamie.
No, Maya and Jamie, yeah.
Yeah. So compared to the other two teams hit the challenge, but it was a more simple, essentially movement.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it was tough. I think the thing that threw Corey and Rebecca over the top was that dress.
Yeah.
This was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they did that with a singular motion, they achieved two different motions in the twist.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that definitely was it. I mean, obviously it impressed the judges, and it was a complicated motion that they did within one, however they geared it or whatever. They definitely did a good job with that. So yeah, I agree. That probably pushed it because again, the build itself, it
Right.
I'm not going to say it's basic, but there were definitely flaws that you could see.
It was one of those. Was like the motion was small compared to the jukebox size in the back.
Right.
I didn't love the proportions of it, but in terms of a movement challenge, I understood why they were at the top.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, for the most part, the whole the different between Ben and Michael and Corey and Rebecca, just like there's I go back and forth. It's kind of like Ben and Michael's build was so good, but
so good,
but too busy. Like it's again like they overdid it, and maybe that was having them lose just to Corey and Rebecca at first. Maybe the judges were kind of like, well, maybe they'll start rethinking and being like, ooh, maybe we are doing too much, which would be a good thing, overall.
Yeah, and that's a good point because teams that have consistently been in the top were in the bottom this time.
Yes.
Ian and Sage, I don't think they won a challenge, but they've been in the top two. Justin and John won a challenge.
Yep.
So like three of the bottom teams had won or been in the top for a challenge. So this was probably just a wake up call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Scare them a little bit.
which is good because you don't want to be so confident and be like, oh, we got this in the bag because all we got to do is the same thing we've been doing. It's like, no, you got to pay attention for each one.
Right.
Yeah.
Which leads in, interestingly, to it looks like we're going to be customizing for next episode. It looks like there's going to be a customized Batmobile, like each team is going to do. Which, that would definitely be a very fun challenge to do. What would you... So, let's get your individual takes. Marcella, if you were able to be in this and you were choosing what you wanted your Batmobile to be, we don't know any of the criteria beyond it's going to be a Batmobile that looks obviously different. What would you do?
It looks like they're getting to grab like a specific movie version, so I would have been running for that 89 Batman, that Michael Keaton Batman. And I'd have put up some fisticuffs for that. Or I would be like, Krista, run!
I get to do the running.
She was our runner. But I probably would have done something with that and maybe turned it into... what I loved about the 89 Batman was that he had the Bat Wing as well as the Batmobile. So I might have tried to be ambitious and maybe had it turn into a airplane of some sort, make like a transformer.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that Batman Transformer.
There you go. I like that. Yeah. What about you, Krista? Which one would you go for?
Ben just mentioned Batman Beyond. Yeah, that was like my jam back in the day. So I would kind of go with that one, and I like the idea of that Batman Transformer. Like, there's a couple of things you could do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could turn it into Will Arnett. Oh.
See, there
Like a
you go.
big
Now
Mac,
you're thinking.
like a
Now
big,
you're
big
thinking.
giant
Well,
Will Mac.
Now I'm thinking like
Love
Power Rangers, where like, like each person is like Amy, Jamie, Will.
And Will forms the head, just like Voltron.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, I mean, like the '89 Batmobile. I mean, yeah, that's so iconic. But also, I mean, like one of my favorite Batmans was actually Batman Forever, and that one actually just had an anniversary, I think, a couple weeks ago. And yeah, that Batmobile was definitely different, and that one I could easily see being like with the big wing in the middle, and like turning into like flipping out, and like turning into a Batwing or whatever. Yeah, that would be the one I would go for. That's for sure.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what the actual challenge is.
Maybe
what the parameters are.
Maybe that's something we'll have to do as a lug. Just be like, hey, let's do a Batmobile challenge because there are so many. Just be like, hey,
That'd be
reimagine
fun.
it, Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Not gonna say we've done that before, taking inspiration from the show for.
Oh, only slightly.
Only slightly.
Only slightly. But hey, that's okay. There's no copyright on ideas like that. So.
Right.
All right. Well, that's all I have for this episode. Next week, we don't know what time we'll be. We were thinking Thursday this week, but changed it to Wednesday. So next week, who knows? So we'll find out. So it's just whatever works. But Monday is the Batman episode. So that's episode 6 of season 5 of Lego Masters. So yeah. Keep watching it. If you don't watch it before the show, hey, we can't help you, or before we do this, can't help you about spoilers. So,
Sorry.
Yeah. So, all right. Until next
on
week.
On Fox, next day Hulu.
Yep, that's right.
Yes.
On Fox Monday, and then next day Hulu. So there you go.
And I think you can watch episodes 1 through 4 of season 5 on Tubi.
Oh, really?
They're like
okay.
one episode behind.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you don't have Hulu, don't forget to go check it out on Tubi. And you can also watch Lego Masters Australia seasons 1 through 5 or something on Tubi as well.
This is something actually that I saw on one of the Reddit posts. Is like Australia, Lego Masters Australia is going on right now too, and like
it is at the same time.
Yeah, and like it's kind of interesting because some of their comments are like. They're like, well, we look at the American version, and they're like, we're looking at the Australian version. Like they're doing, like they just did a car, like, and it had to be a realistic looking car. I'm like, that's interesting how just completely different, So
yeah,
I think in terms of the Australian version too, I like that it's very clear about what the criteria are for the points to kind of move forward. I feel like sometimes with the U.S. challenges, that's left to interpretation.
It is absolutely, yeah. Well, the first 3 episodes, it was that's exactly what I thought, and it was like that's not really like they're saying they're looking for one thing, and then when they come to judge it, something else. They're like, oh, you didn't do this. It's like, but that's not what you asked for. So yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks again for joining me as always, and until next time, keep on building, everyone. We'll see ya.